Imagine a city floating on a lake, a metropolis of sparkling canals, botanical gardens, and white stone palaces that rivaled Venice or Rome. It was the jewel of the ancient world. But in the center of this paradise stood a great temple, the Templo Mayor, and its stairs were not white. They were stained a deep, permanent red. This was the capital of the Aztec Empire, a civilization of poets, engineers, and philosophers who were obsessed with one terrifying truth. The sun is dying, and only human blood can keep it alive. Welcome to Human Story. Today, we step onto the sacrificial stone to understand the most misunderstood practice in human history. Why did the Aztecs sacrifice thousands of people? Was it cruelty, or was it survival? To the Spanish conquistadors who arrived in 1519, the Aztecs were monsters serving the devil. But to understand the ritual, we must first understand the Aztec theology. It wasn't about hate, it was about debt. The Aztecs believed they lived in the era of the fifth sun. According to their myth, the gods had sacrificed themselves, throwing their own bodies into a fire to create the sun and the moon. Because the gods gave their blood to create life, humanity had an eternal debt. This concept was called *Nextlahuali*, meaning debt payment. If the payment stopped, the sun would stop moving, and the universe would die in darkness. So the blood was not seen as murder. It was seen as fuel, sacred energy. They called it *Chalkihuitl*, or precious water, and the extraction of this precious water was a highly organized, state-sponsored ritual. Let's walk through the ritual. The victim, often a captured warrior, would be led up the steep steps of the Great Pyramid, 114 steps toward the sky. At the top, 4 priests would seize his limbs, stretching him backward, over a convex sacrificial stone called the *Tenochtitlan*. This arched his chest, pushing the ribcage upward. Then the high priest, wielding a knife made of volcanic glass obsidian, would make a swift incision. Obsidian is sharper than surgical steel. The cut was instant. The priest would reach into the chest cavity, sever the arteries, and pull out the still beating heart. The heart was then raised to the sun, an offering of pure vitality to the god Huitzilopochtli. The body was then rolled down the steps of the temple. This wasn't disrespect. It was a reenactment of the myth where the moon goddess was defeated and thrown down the mountain by the sun god. But where did they get all these victims? The Aztec Empire didn't always fight wars to conquer land. They fought flower wars, or *Axayayatl*. These were arranged battles between the Aztecs and their neighbors, like the Tlaxcalans. The goal wasn't to kill on the battlefield. The goal was to capture. To kill an enemy in battle was clumsy. To capture him for the gods was honorable. A warrior's status in society depended on how many live captives he could bring back to Tenochtitlan. However, not all rituals were for the sun god. Some were for Tlaloc, the god of rain, and these are perhaps the most heartbreaking chapters of Aztec civilization. Tlaloc required the tears of children to bring the rain. Priests would take children to mountaintop shrines. If the children cried on the way, it was seen as a good omen, a sign that rain would fall. It is difficult for the modern mind to comprehend. How could parents allow this? In their worldview, if Tlaloc was ignored, the crops would fail, and the entire empire, millions of people, including those children, would starve. It was a brutal calculus, the sacrifice of the few for the survival of the many. Fear was the heartbeat of the empire. One of the most famous events in history was the reconsecration of the Great Pyramid in 1487. Aztec records claim that over 4 days, 80,400 prisoners were sacrificed. Modern historians and archaeologists dispute this number. It would require killing 14 people every minute, non-stop. The true number was likely lower, perhaps 4,000 to 20,000, but even that number is staggering. The scale of death left a physical mark on the city. Near the temple stood the *Zompantli*, or the skull rack. Thousands of human skulls, pierced horizontally on wooden poles, displayed like a grim abacus. When the Spanish conquistadors saw this, they were terrified. They used it as justification for their own brutality, claiming they were saving the people from these barbarous customs. But we must ask, was the Aztec ritual any different from the wars of Europe? The Spanish Inquisition burned people alive to save their souls. The Aztecs cut out hearts to save the universe. Both were systems of violence justified by faith. The difference was that the Aztecs did not hide their violence. They made it the center of their art, their architecture, and their daily life. There were also voluntary sacrifices. Some Aztecs believed that being sacrificed was the surest way to a glorious afterlife, accompanying the sun as it traveled across the sky. Dying of old age or disease was seen as unremarkable. Dying on the stone was a destiny reserved for the chosen. It was a culture that looked death in the eye and didn't blink. When Tenochtitlan finally fell in 1521, the fires of the temple were extinguished, the gods were silenced. The great stones were torn down to build cathedrals. But deep beneath Mexico City, the artifacts remain. In recent years, archaeologists have found the actual skull racks and sacrificial knives, proving that the legends were true. The Aztec blood rituals remind us of the power of belief. They show us how far a civilization will go when they truly believe their world is on the brink of apocalypse. They were not monsters. They were a people living in fear of the dark, paying the highest price imaginable to keep the lights on for one more day. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the Crimson Past. It is a heavy topic, but one that is essential to understanding the complexity of the human story. If you found this history fascinating, please hit the like button. It helps the algorithm share these stories with the world. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. We have many more ancient mysteries to uncover, from the sands of Egypt to the jungles of the Maya. Until next time, remember, history is not always pretty, but it is always true. This is Human Story, signing off.